Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Online Darts, the live lounge. It is Monday, the 18th of January. We're back on a Monday, but we've got a change on the panel tonight. Of course, I'm always here, Phill Bars, joined by Jack Gobby Garwood. But tonight, Dan Simpson, one of the team, is joining us because Jarlath is playing with his Thomas the Tank trains tonight and couldn't be bothered to join us. So, gentlemen, how are we?
Very well, thank you very much. It's lovely to join you both at last.
And welcome along for your debut. We'll let Jack get his breath back after that. Excited to join us for the first time, Dan?
Oh, mate.
Yeah, very much. It's lovely to finally be on live with you both after a couple of podcasts. It's very nice to be along. And more than anything, I'm grateful that you have saved me from what could be a really disturbing evening this evening, because I could be watching Newcastle be embarrassed by Arsenal tonight. So I am grateful that you've saved me from that pain to come and join you both this evening.
Gob, good week for you?
Not a very sober week. Let's put it that way. Not bad at all. I've had worse weeks. Let's put it that way. Very busy at work. Really nice weekend. I didn't think I'd get caught up with a lockdown birthday when they started announcing stuff in March last year, but I did, and it was really enjoyable considering. So yeah, mint.
Again, hello everyone in the chat room as well. We're just sharing links on social media so everyone knows we are live. And of course, the live action is getting nearer. QSchool numbers were announced earlier. We're going to talk about that shortly. The Masters on the horizon. Masters obviously next week will be the special review show and looking ahead to it. Can't wait for that. But the fact that live darts is coming back is exciting, gentlemen. The world was done. The new season is on the horizon. Can't wait. What about you guys?
I think it feels like it's coming back. I know, just with it being QSchool, because it's such a big event with so many people, it feels like it's coming back en masse. Like when we got darts back before, we get the Premier League, which is just a handful of people. We're getting those every night, and then we've got sort of bigger and bigger in terms of scale. Obviously, prestige-wise, the World Championships is the biggest thing that we've got. But QSchool is mass when it comes to people. And I think that's what's really encouraging, is seeing so many darts players being able to get back being competitive again. We've had that elite level and we've been brilliantly entertained by that elite level. But I just think it's fantastic that, professional darts players are going back to work.
Yeah, for you, Gob?
QSchool is the official start of the season. It means we get to go again. And just when you thought we might get a little bit of a break, it just comes straight back at you. And the darts calendar is relentless, but it's mint. We get to see potential new tour card players. We get to see those that are going to sit on the Challenge Tour next year. There's a change in format this year that makes QSchool really exciting. Okay, there's still a lot of people doubting whether it will go ahead at the minute. I think it goes ahead under current situations. I don't think the PDC push it the way they have, or don't push it back unless anything's going to change at the minute. I just think full steam ahead. The event has to happen for the season to start, and it's the potential start of another exciting season.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, Gob. Look, I think obviously to get the go-ahead, they've had to go through government channels and everything. I say, barring a catastrophe with our rate and COVID numbers, I think, look, it's here, thank God. We're going to talk about the numbers and that in a minute. We haven't got the full list, or I haven't seen it yet. But we'll come on to numbers and everything. Just a little bit of an impromptu, bit of a relaxed feel tonight, guys, for you in the chat room. So there's going to be more chance for you to ask any questions you want as well. And of course, Dan's here for the first time, so you can get his opinion on anything you want as well. We're going to talk about QSchool in numbers. We're going to have a look at what events that we think might be missing from the 2021 calendar when we finally get one. Some big news coming out of Australia for the tennis and in general, which I think pretty much cans the World Series, but we'll talk about that. we're going to have a little debate. Icons and legends. What's the difference in the sport? Because I think legends and overused words. We'll come on to that later. And then, of course, we will come on to all your questions in the chat room. And already the chat room is buzzing. Good evening, everyone. Rach is back. Didn't see you in the chat room last week. Rach, can we see your note signed, please? You all know the rules. You signed up for this. Can't have a week off without a signed note. But we've seen Jarloff. It was signed by Mr. Tank Engine. We've seen it. It was there. Good evening, Luke, as well. One of the team watching along. Hope you are well, buddy. So we'll dive straight in, gents. I've got to tee some stuff up here because normally Jar shares all the links and I just make the stuff look pretty on screen. But doing a double job today.
And then you rob the people.
Oh, and already spot the first mistake. We've got rid of Gob. 2 seconds. I'll get him back. It's fine. We can do
Those
this.
pictures got better looking, didn't they?
Yeah.
The cheek of the parent.
Don't worry, Gob's back. We fixed.
And rightly so.
Yeah.
A rose between two thorns.
Yeah. We thought you'd put you central stage for this bit, Gob. I thought you deserved it as it was your birthday. Lendl, good evening, mate. Don't worry, we've got some FDI stats coming up. Yes, I borrowed something from your Twitter. Don't worry about that, mate. We borrow everything on the show, whether it's the PDC or FDI. It's what we do. Right, so first of all, the numbers have been released. QSchool in numbers. Considering we are in a global pandemic, 668 across both. Very good numbers, gentlemen. Did you think it was going to be that high?
I didn't.
I didn't. I didn't because I believe there was around 500 that had entered before the PDC changed the ruling for accommodation and the event as such. So I thought I've seen quite a few that have withdrawn on social media. I'm not sure if they've officially withdrawn from these lists or if they're still included, and if they've paid their fee and are just clinging on to play Challenge Tour but won't actually be attending the QSchool event. I am surprised at how high the numbers are, especially your EU or Euro QSchool catching up the UK, I think, in terms of numbers. That's a really good turnout for them. Interesting, considering that's perceived to be the weaker of the two QSchools. But yeah, those numbers overall, massive. It's pretty much the Masters prize pot paid for the PDC, which always helps in a year where they've had no fans in. So they won't be upset about that one at all either.
No, definitely. And like you said there, Gob, I'm going to throw this one to Dan. European QSchool is really catching on now. That's great numbers considering that people have got to travel across Europe to get to Germany, everything like that. Nearly 300's an unbelievable number.
It is, and I'm surprised by the numbers for both. But yeah, really encouraging. I think we know. Jar said something last week that it was really good. We've talked for a while about the Germans are coming, but no, the world's coming, and I do think there's a real depth in that. I think when you go down into that 271, I think it's not like all of a sudden there's another 50 players there's another 50 Dutch players. There's an extra 50 German players. I think it's a really even it's a really broad spread right across Europe, and I know that, potentially the North Americans go into that. There's a few others that can go, that can maybe slip into either one. But I just think it's really, really encouraging for the next few years and the exciting potential matches and potential tour card holders that we'll get to watch for the next couple of years.
Yeah, definitely. I know this is far-fetched at the moment for you, Gob, but obviously chatting to Steve Brown with a number of academies that are opening in China and things like that, do you think it's beyond the realms that one day we'll see an Asian leg of QSchool and they'll have their own?
I don't know at the minute. I think because so much of the tour is based in the UK and Europe, to put an Asian QSchool in would give that faux belief for them don't get me wrong, it'll be far better for them to then have a couple of spots on the tour. But in terms of the required travel and the commitment to then pretty much move to Europe, it's not very feasible to base yourself in Asia and try and play the full tour. Got tournaments pretty much every week when the season's in full flow. So I wouldn't mind seeing it. I think the way that they're popping up is massive. We've seen the snooker revolution, if you want, that took off in Asia. Marco Fu, Ding Zhonghui, Yang Bintao on the Masters yesterday, which is massive for them. They've got another new superstar. So A, I think the Asians need a new superstar. B, they keep playing the game, they keep developing the academies. Yes, maybe eventually they get their own Q school, but there needs to be some sort of caveat to that, in that the chances are they need to be based in the UK, because I don't see the rest of this tour moving abroad anytime soon. I see the odd event going there. Could see us perhaps going back for a World Series, although the crowd wasn't fantastic when we were in that part of the world previously. But yeah, that's where I'm going with it for now.
Right, let's start with UK Q School. 397 entries. 365 of them will enter at stage one. Stage one split into two sections because of COVID rules. 183 in one, 182 in the other, with 18 tour cards on offer. European one, 271 entries. 253 enter at stage one. Again, split in between two, bit lower numbers, 127 and 126, with 11 tour cards on offer. First of all, Dan, do you think they've got the split in tour cards right, 18 and 11?
I think for now, I think while the entry numbers remain as they are, I think it's about right. I think you can. I suppose you can knuckle down. I suppose what I think I would really support is a bit of a sort of structured algorithm to it. You know, as to where that, because it is, you know, it wouldn't be too complex to look at what the total number of tour cards available are. Look at the total number of entries across all, you know, across both Q schools, and then distribute them accordingly. I think that, you know, that's probably the fairest and easiest way to do it, and not a really complex. You know, it's not a complex algorithm. You know, you just look at how many you've got. And distribute them proportionately, and I don't think they're far from that. You know, I think they're not far off you know, the right distribution. But yeah, you could maybe slip one or two towards, you know, maybe one or two extra to the EU. But there is that argument about whether, you know, whether the standard is a bit different. It's going to end up in two separate tournaments, and you don't really know the standard till it's played out, is it?
No, 100%. One from Juanita from Australia, I say 4 a.m. where she is in the chat room. Do we know how the players are going to be split into groups A and B? It is literally just a random draw. For stage one, there is absolutely no seeding. They put all the names into a hat, press random generate on a computer button, and it will tell you where you are. So a little bit of luck involved, because, God, we've all seen these random draws. A or B could be completely stacked, and you could be lucky and be one of the only ones in the other one and slip through into stage two.
Oh, massive luck. I've literally just seen it in the tournament. I played my first round of a tournament earlier today, and I'm in the top half of the draw. There's 10, 12 players in the 96 tournament that can win it from that top half of the draw. Without being disrespectful, there's 2 or 3 in the bottom half. Like, literally the halves are stacked against each other in terms of names and standing at university level previously. So yeah, the draw is massive. The problem is that there's going to be plenty of entries that won't have ever played PDC before. There's no real fair system of allocating people with enough up-to-date data that they've played in other events. It could be huge, though. It could be absolutely catastrophic and huge at the same time. It opens up so many avenues for players in that first section if you're on the nicer half of the draw, shall we say. But with that comes its own pressure. You come through the tough half of section A or section B, you set up nicely, because that second section is not going to be any easier. So you've still got to go there. You've still got to win the games. Don't get me wrong. There have been avenues in the past where people have picked up tour cards that perhaps had a more fortunate run to a tour card than other people, but that's how sport works, and that's how we'll get our tour card holders for next year.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Now, here's where Lendl, where FDI comes into play. Thank you very much, buddy. Obviously, we haven't got every name from the list yet because they haven't released it, but we've got a few. And by the good old FDI rankings, which we love here at the show, ladies and gentlemen, it gives you an indication of players that we've got some data on that have played this year now on the screen. And out of, obviously, we know there's going to be other ones, but out of the ones that we've got data for, gents, who jumps off the page from each of the pools?
Ooh. Starting in Europe, Cantele, big fan of him. Could see him doing okay. Very consistent, very steady. Brian Roman seems to be on a bit of a hurt. Mike Kovenhoven. Surprised to see him back at QSchool. Surprised to see him as one of the ones that dropped his tour card. He had a bit of a purple patch at one point. Damien Moll is the one that I really like the look of, though. Done bits at the development tour this year. Really excited to see him go and play. Over in the UK, Jim Williams, Scott Mitchell, two outstanding players on the BDO tour in the past. Andrew Gilding is one of the ones I've got my eye on, though. I thought he had a really good year on the Challenge Tour. And then again, down to the young lads, Dominic Taylor was fantastic last year. Louis Williams had a great run at the UK Open. Keelan Kay, upcurrent Irishman. There's plenty of names that I would not be disappointed to see full-time next year.
You, Dan?
So if I was to pick an absolute and I feel bad pick, just it's easy to pick the name at the top, isn't it, the rankings. But I think if someone asked me for an absolute banker coming off there, to get a tour card, then I think Zonneveld is probably, if I had to put a bet on it was an absolute banker who will get a tour card, I think Zonneveld is just got the right amount of quality and the right amount of consistency to come through probably whatever comes at him, really. UK, I really like the look of Jamie Lewis. I think he's the last few years he's put some good performances in. He looked all right at the Worlds. I think he's probably on a bit of a maybe just on a bit of a trajectory that might just grind something out there. Jamie Lewis, I think, from the UK.
Yeah, look, I'm looking at the UK. There's obviously. There's two on there that maybe for nostalgia reasons, but I'd love Robert Thornton to get his tour card back. But the one that jumps off is Richie Burnett. How good would it be to have Richie Burnett on tour for 2 years?
Yeah, agreed.
I'm just looking at the names. Burnett, former world champion. Scott Mitchell, former world champion. Jim Williams, former world finalist. Jan Decker, former world semi-finalist. Jamie Lewis, world semi-finalist. Kurt Shepard, world finalist. Joe Davis, world youth finalist. That's mad. And none of these guys are classed as a professional in the PDC as yet.
Yeah, no, absolute madness. And like we say, these are the players that we know are in stage 2 because they've dropped off the tour. Dev Tour and everything like that. So we know they are in stage 2. But some of the players that are going to be in stage 1, the likes of Fallon Sherrock, again, huge danger. Nico Kurtz as well. Can't believe he's not on there. Thought he might have just scraped into stage 2 because of his World and Euro Tour exploits, but not. It's going to be interesting. It really is. And of course, we are going to be doing a load of QSchool stuff on the show when it happens, so you don't miss any of the action. But gents, going back to QSchool, do you think it changes the dynamic, the fact that they are now in a bubble for this year's QSchool? Do you think that changes their mindset being stuck as well? If you go out early one day, you've basically got 24 hours to stew.
I
think. Go on, Gob.
Possibly, but I'm not with restrictions the way they are, and possibly an impending summer series or spring series again, like we've seen before. That's the environment they're going to have to get used to for a while. That's the life of a professional dart player. You've got to be able to compartmentalize that, put it to one side. Okay, I've had a bad day, get ready and go again. Go and hit the practice board for a bit. Just try and stay as relaxed as possible. Use the facilities around you. Get your food in, get your sleep properly. Make sure you're well equipped before you get to the hotel. Take plenty of snacks that you're going to like. Take a games console if you need something to unwind with. Don't just sit there relying on normal TV, because that will absolutely drain you. As someone that's played a dev tour and that's only 2 days, like, make sure you've got some form of entertainment with you, especially as well, not entirely sure of the testing procedure, but if these guys all need to be full COVID tested, not PCR, there's going to be a lot of downtime before they're even allowed to play as well. So that's before they're even allowed to leave the room and pick up a dart and get into the arena, familiarize themselves with that, and get on a practice board as well. So, yeah, this QSchool is going to be more about mental strength than any of the ones before.
For you, Dan?
I think we've seen, since we started to get darts back, that there's players that some players will go one way or the other, in that there's players that it will have a detrimental effect on, and they'll really struggle, and they, if they do have if they go out early one day, that they'll lose themselves for the rest of the day, and they won't, and it'll knock them for the week. I think there's others who have, let's be honest, we've seen people who we probably didn't expect who've really flourished in this environment, even though it's really strange, and it might be, sometimes that those that do just want to hit the practice board and who can come away from that, get back on the board in the afternoon. Like Gob said, those that are organised, that have, that sort out what they're going to eat, and they know how they're going to relax, and that have maybe formed some friendships within that bubble. I think you could see people, you might see unexpected performances and people really excelling just through being able to adapt to the environment better than other people, not so much just bringing a better game of darts.
With that, then, do we think that some of the players on that list that have played in the events this year, like the autumn series, the winter series, have got a better understanding of the environment, and that gives them a better chance going into this?
Yes and no. I mean, the fact they've already been there is good. The majority of these names have played in a PDC event before, so know the setup, are comfortable with the atmosphere and environment anyway. I think the great leveler here is that these guys don't play until stage 2, right? So they've been in the atmosphere before, they've been in the environment before, and they've got that head start, but their opponents have got at least 3 days worth of, potentially 3 days worth of match practice in. As daft as it sounds, yeah, I'd almost be more happy winning my tour card on points on the final day of 1B than I would anything else, because that means I've played darts solid for a good couple of days. I've built up and I'm in good form. If I win it first day of 1A, I've then got 5 days downtime before I'm playing in stage 2. Same with 1B, you've got that downtime. All right, winning it outright completely takes the pressure off your shoulders. You're there, you've done it, you're in stage 2, whatever. But in terms of, for me, I'm better when I play more and more darts, and I think a lot of these boys will be as well. Gary Anderson is the prime example of that. You put a dart in his hand, he's okay. Tell him to go practice, not great. These boys need match practice, so getting through as a points holder on 1B is the way to go for me, and just play straight through.
No, I agree. For those that are in the chat room, any QSchool questions, get them in right now, guys. We will answer the QSchool questions. I've got one here for Dan. I'm not going to get Gob to answer this because we know what the answer will be. But from Daz, this one's your question for Dan. Do you think Barney will get his tour card back?
Yeah, I do. I think it's. I think. So when I suppose what we were just saying, what we were just talking about there, the environment is going to be unusual to everyone, Barney included, and people are going to find it difficult to adapt. It's all a bit strange, and I think one of the things that will get people over the line is experience. Now, he's arguably he's got more experience playing in high pressure situations than anybody else that's in QSchool this year in either set. Now, I could be made to look a complete fool, and I could be wrong. It's happened before. I think it was a Wednesday, just the once. But I just think he's too. I think he's too good. I think his natural talent. I think Barney on a bad day, turning up, chucking darts at the wall, just gets through. I don't think it's up for debate.
Yeah, I think if he gets through stage 1, then I agree. I think if he's in stage 2, I think he gets one, just on pure experience and everything alone. One from Steve is to me, but we'll throw it open to the whole room. Do we think Jim Williams will get a tour card? If I remember serves me correct, he only just missed out last year, didn't he? On the final day, he was still in contention on the final day.
Yeah.
My concern is 100% good enough. My only concern is how much competitive darts has he played this year and leading up to QSchool. That's my only slight reservation about Jim Williams. 100% good enough, and I'd like to see him on tour.
I think he'd make a good addition to tour, yeah. WDO World finalist. He's got that relationship with Duzzer as well that I think would help him settle into life as a PDC darts player pretty quickly. You see little cliques or friendship groups on the tour. Jim would be able to slot straight into one of them, which I think would make him very comfortable playing at darts events. You see a lot of players and unknowns that come through that don't really have that. Ones that aren't with any sort of management company that come through as an independent player to start with. They don't really have that group to go around to go to events with that are comfortable traveling, that help them settle into that life. So yeah, look, he's got the game for it. He's got the management company and the friends around him to adapt to life pretty quickly. Can he hold it together and get over the line after the disappointment last year? Is going to be the big thing, because without being disrespectful, with QSchool not going his way last year and the World Final not going his way this year, his last 2 tastes of what we think is his most recent competitive darts have been massive disappointments for him.
Yeah, just looking back though, he played in the Winter Series, didn't he? And he had some half decent performances, if my memory serves me right.
Pass. You just killed off my big line now. If so, completely forgot he was on the challenge.
One from Andrew is how many from each of the lists that we've got up at the moment do you think will win a tour card? Good question.
Was it 18 and 11?
18 and 11, yeah.
I think at least 8 of the European QSchool card holders come from that list there.
8 of 11, really?
Yeah, I seriously do. I just think these guys are experienced enough, and whilst the field is quite big, it is a little bit disrespectful to say, but again, the standard of the lower entries and the bulk of the European tour aren't the level of tour card holders, aren't the level of challenge tour players, and darts is gaining interest and excitement, but the level's still lagging behind a little bit in Europe. There'll be players that can have a good day or a good game, but in terms of consistency to get over the line and win a card, the guys on that list are the ones to do it. So I think maybe 7 or 8 of 11 of the European QSchool card holders come from that list. I'm going to say 7 on the UK as well. Obviously, slightly bigger field. Depends who else has entered and is coming through. There's plenty of guys that have been around and done it before that I've seen floating about on socials that are entering. So I'm going to say 7 and 7.
For you, Dan? I reckon it's about 50%. I was for the Europeans, I was going 6, and I just think the sheer numbers puts me off going any higher than that. I just think there's too many differentials, too many different things that can happen when you got that many people in a tournament. Again with the UK one, I think I'd probably say about 50%. I'd probably go 9. 9 of those get one. And I think the other 9 come from outside of that group. I'd go just over 50% European, go 6.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I'm around that sort of number as well. I just think that the European one, I think there might be a few surprises. Let's carry on going through the questions on QSchool before we move on. Rach, is there a minimum average as a requirement? No, basically, if you want to pay £450, you could have put your name in the hat and played, basically. So
£85
there we go.
for your hotel.
Yeah. Yeah, all good. Thanks, Dan. Here we've got D-Style Beats. How do you see the chances of the German players? Are there any players that you would like to see on tour? Greetings from Germany. Hello to everyone watching in Germany. Hope you are enjoying the show. I think the last couple of Euro tours looked really, really good for German darts. There was a lot of unknowns that were coming through and producing some good stuff. Obviously, everyone knows that I'm a huge fan of Nico Kurtz, and I think he wins one. Just looking who else is on the list there. Christian Bunzer, again, I think he's been around the block enough now. And I think there'll be some that come through from stage 1 as well. I don't know what you guys feel.
I think Kurtz is a really good shout.
German darts is growing. Sorry, Dan, go on.
No, go on, mate. Go on. You set off. I'm still Googling.
I just think the depth is growing. I literally just did a quick Google of German darts players to refresh your memory, and the likes of Kevin Munch, seen him in a World Cup, World Championship before, Langendorf, Unterbuchner, Rosenhauer, Nico Blum, good youth player, and Roach, Roach, I can't remember. We went through his name last week, and I still don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, I know, we know you mean.
Good. Yeah, he had that on Real European Tour. Someone will put it in the chat in a minute, and I still won't be able to say it. Look, they're growing. They're getting better. I expect 3, maybe 4 of the 11 to be German. I think the majority will be German or Dutch that do come through as card holders. Yeah, their chances of picking up more cards are getting better and better every year. The more and more we take European tours there, the more and more they get home nation qualifiers, the more and more they play in PDC darts, the better they're going to get.
Yeah, so the one that I forgot that jumps off, and I thought he was unlucky at the back end of the year, made a lot of technical changes. Obviously, I was lucky enough to commentate on a few of his games on the home tour, was Martin Schindler, who's really starting to impress me again. I think, obviously, the slide that he'd been on was too far gone to correct it, but the back end of the year, I saw some real signs that Martin Schindler was on the up again.
Yeah, I mean, his World Cup performance against Marco van Gerwen the other year was absolutely unbelievable. It was a great game, that. He got the top-level game. I've seen it firsthand on the Dev Tour, but he needs to deliver at pro level again. And I think that the pressure of being up there with Max as Germany's 1 and 2 for a while may have caused that slide, but the technical change looks good for him.
100% right, going through. Oh, go on, Dan.
Time as well, I think.
Go on, Dan.
I was just saying, just on Schindler, I just think he's got time. I know, we'd think, he might have been put off by just, not being at the rest of the German darts players potentially, coming past him, potentially overtaking him. But he's 24. He's got loads of time. He's got and you would hope that at 24, he's that sort of stuff about the other. You would hope at 24 years old the fact that other darts players were moving ahead of him in the rankings and getting in spots ahead of him would do nothing other than fire him up with a bit of luck. And I think I agree, Phil. I think he's a really good shout.
Yeah, definitely. Right, going through the questions on QSchool. Good evening, John. Patrick, good evening, mate. How are we all doing? He says, will we see a new nation on Tour 2021? Last year we had Czech Republic and Croatia. Good question. Do I think...
One that I probably should have spent more time on Twitter for before he asked. There's plenty of guys that understand the niche corners of the world of darts better than we do. pass is the honest answer without looking into it.
I
I'm trying to think who could.
I
come
think this
through.
year is the COVID situation. I think certainly for the next 18 to 24 months will be the biggest deciding factor on where we do and don't get to have darts events. I think that I think the PDC have done an amazing job so far, and I'm convinced will continue to get events where they can in any way they can. And I think you've got the potential that we might see some events in places we never expected because the situation regarding COVID is makes life easier and makes it easier to put something on. By the same token, the things we want as an absolute banker we might not see there. I think 18 to 24 months, I think, unfortunately, the COVID situation will dictate what we do and don't get in terms of something new and interesting.
Yeah. So Jason has asked, evening all, does France Rocha have a tour card with him? No, but again, he did played really well on the Euro Tour, and yes, Nico Kurtz is going to QSchool from John. Patrick Koltsov and Thibaut Trickle, or however you pronounce his name, the French lad, has a chance. Yeah, look, I'm a huge fan of Boris Koltsov. That action, when it's on, it is like silk. We saw that in the Modus Live League.
He's 3 years behind where it should be. Boris should have been a tour card holder, and he should have been beating people. His top level game is absolutely unbelievable. But the unfortunate thing for Boris is when it's off, it's quite bad. I think Patrick suggested that because would Koltsov and Tricol be the first Russian and French to have a tour card?
Hasn't Boris had a tour card before? Or am I making that up?
No,
I thought he had one and lost
2019.
it. Yeah, but yeah, certainly you'll be the first French. Certainly, Trickle would be the first French to have a tour card if he can get one. So yeah, we could have France added to the list. I'd love Big Boris.
Diogo? Would Diogo be the first? Has Diogo had a card yet?
No, he hasn't. So yeah, Diogo could possibly be the first Brazilian. So yeah, good evening, Charlie, joining us, mate. Congratulations. Thanks for joining us this evening. So that's kind of QSchool. We will be doing a QSchool special once we have all the names, once we know who's in what pot and group, and we can do a proper in-depth look at that one. So now we're going to move on to where we think the 2021 tour. Now, a lot of talk about that at the moment, gents. What do we think we're going to lose from the tour? Is it fair to say that I don't see any World Series events happening this year?
I don't know.
It's hard to say. I think it's hard to see it now, today, and I think we all know that the goalposts keep moving and things keep changing. I think it's very difficult to see in the next 12 months a World Series events taking place. So it pains me to say it, but I think you might be right on that one, Phil.
Well, I just look at, especially on Twitter, like all the athletes, all the tennis players, what they're having to go through to get into play in the Australian Open. That's just not feasible for darts, is it? Is the thing?
No.
Because that's why I say I think it's virtually impossible to get, especially down under, for the World Series. God, what do you reckon?
I don't know, because the PDC clearly love the event. That they love the tournament. They love the World Series. Like they've put a lot of time and effort into getting it into MSG in New York. They've spent a lot of time growing it, and it's been a great tool and asset for them to grow the game. And I just think darts in the UK has seen a massive surge almost because people are playing it at home during lockdown. The first lockdown, the amount of money that the manufacturers made off dartboards and sales of darts and flights and stems must have been absolutely unbelievable because everybody's got bored up nowadays. And if the rest of the world has taken that on board as well, okay, there will be difficulty getting the top players there. and hosting the qualifiers, but the chance to show that you keep practicing at home, you can be here, is massive to those countries to potentially finding new talent. I just think that this is the only sport in the world, really, where you can just keep practicing at home, and suddenly you could be a professional. You just don't really see it anywhere else, and it's relatively accessible and cheap to do as well compared to other sports. Like, all right, pool and snooker, you could go and practice all you want at home if you've got a big enough house, but I ain't got a big enough house for a 12-foot snooker table.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, if any, we might get New York and Copenhagen, Dan, or maybe Germany thrown in as well. But that's as far as I see the World Series going.
Yeah, I think Northern Europe and North America. I mean, just looking, without wanting, I don't want to get into the nitty gritty of it because it's no fun to talk about. But Canada's really deeply locked down and struggling a little bit. America, we might see some differences. Come where is it? Is it 2 days, 48 hours? New president. I think things will change there a little bit. Whether that means that could go one or the other. That could mean that everything gets sorted out a little bit better, and all of a sudden we can look forward to some events. It might be that all that tightening has to then start happening over there, and we don't get anything. If I look at the practical terms of what I think, where we can get stuff to, I think that potentially Northern Europe, Scandinavia, maybe Germany. Germany's a decent potential to get people across backwards and forwards. North America. But I think that I think Australia will be a real push. I think it's going to be tough. But I think the PDC they'll do what they can. I just don't know what that'll be at the minute.
In terms of the rest of the calendar, obviously we've got an interview coming out which will explain more in the next few days. But the Euro Tour isn't going to be a full Euro Tour. That's going to obviously have an impact. Where else do we think we could potentially lose stuff? Or do you think we'll get most of the tour in 2021?
I'm anxious for the development tour and the challenge tour. I'm anxious for those second tier tours that are the feeders. The pro tours are once you get a tour card, they're now free to enter. The challenge and the development tours aren't. So unless they're all going to take place at the same time, same weekend, same bubble, that sort of thing, and just spread it out over a larger venue, I just think the costs of putting them on and mass test minors almost, or a portion of the field being minors, would be a real difficulty for the development tour. I'm trying to think what else. I can't see the Champions League returning. I think that would be incredibly. I just think once the deal didn't go through last year, I think that one's pretty much dead in the water. ITV are doing a great job as the old style ITV4, right? Not quite terrestrial, but free-to-air TV with the digital switchover that happened a few years ago. And the Minehead events, I don't think they're in trouble of dropping off the calendar, but I think they're in trouble in terms of going ahead at Minehead or Butlins. Great venue. Me and Jar absolutely rave about it, as do a lot of fans that go down there. But I just think sticking fans on that site for 2-3 days, it's just a recipe for trouble. If even the smallest outbreak happens, it's just bad press. It's bad attention. Why is this going off in the way it is? So I think that they'll be moved to a different location, but we'll still go ahead.
I think one of the things that one of the considerations. Oh, go on, Phil.
No, go on, Dan. You go, mate.
I just think one of the considerations with things, Minehead, Skegness, those sort of things is, whilst to us darts fans, like that's massive. Like that's, we all want to get to that place for that event, and that's a huge big deal. If I detach myself as a darts fan and think as a businessman that runs an organisation, you think, well, that's one weekend or that's one event that brings a load of people to there, but they've got like a whole year of those things, and if you have to move in the calendar and you think, well, we can't do it when we'd normally do the darts, we're going to do it at another time. You're then going to start. You've then got Butlins thinking, oh yeah, well that means we can't have the the WWE on, because that's when we do that. And you start to clash with other things for them. You're also clashing in potentially
go on holiday.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The Butlins don't need to put an event on in the 6 weeks holidays because everything is sold out. But you want to put the darts on in that time. That's the only time we can slot it in. All of a sudden, they're not. It's not as simple as it normally is. Where they take. Now, let's be honest. When the darts is on at Butlins, that's a quiet weekend for Butlins. If the darts isn't on, people aren't flocking there for their holidays. That's why it works for everybody. I think where the complications and the difficulties come is when we can't run the normal darts calendar on the dates we normally would. That's when everything just goes out the window a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, look, I might be over enthusiastic or over optimism, but I genuinely think the back half of the year we will see the arenas as we once saw them. Genuinely believe that. The back end of the year, we will see normality. Convinced that we will have a good crowd at Blackpool in July.
Oh, I hope so.
Right now,
Blackpool will win the
genuinely, but believe that. I'm going to go through some questions, guys. Put your thinking caps on about the tour whilst we go through some of them. Good evening, Gary, mate. How you doing? Andrew, they're probably going to use the World Series period to catch up on postponed events. Yeah, there's a very good chance of that. Gary, again, when do we think the Premier League will start? Interesting one. That's what I was coming on to. When do you guys see the Premier League starting? Because Matt made it quite clear on World Finals Day that they weren't prepared to start it until there was crowds.
I think you mentioned a sweet spot in the last sentence you said there, Phill, where you talked about July, and I think I think the way the landscape is changing in the country at the moment, the rate at which we are vaccinating people, the way I don't think the dates that we're hoping for are going to come through. I think we're into the summer. And which then makes me think, well, I don't know if we can do a weekly Thursday night format, if there's going to be something different that they have to do with that. But yeah, I think July probably, before we can get people sat at tables, all going, having a drink, staying till after 10 p.m. perhaps. That's about be my guess.
For you, Gob?
I think it's an absolute minefield. If they're not putting it until crowds are back, the problem is that the back end of the calendar is so congested with televised events as it is. I honestly don't know. The summer looks okay until you consider that I don't think you're going to get a 13-week gap between any of the traditional major slots anyway, even if you drop the World Series, unless you're going to start pushing back the Grand Prix and the Grand Slam. And even then, I think the window gets a bit tight. You're then also going to start competing with the regular football season again. If you try and bring it a little bit earlier, we've got the World Cup and the Olympics this year. Are you really going to draw a crowd on a Thursday night or a couple of nights a week and try and congest it in comparison to that? I just think in terms of a broadcasting schedule, it works when it works in the season for a reason, and pushing it back just creates a logistical nightmare for them.
Yeah, no, I agree. Look, I think, could we potentially end of May, like Dan said, if we're getting everyone vaccinated, like they keep saying, then we've got a huge chance of getting bums on seats. So my guess is I think we'll see Pro Tours for the first third of the year.
Yeah, I think, Phil, it depends on what the threshold is and what the
Oh, we've lost Dan. Wouldn't be a live round without a technical hitch.
It's not me.
And it's not God for a change.
What is going on?
Me and God will keep talking. Don't worry, we'll get Dan back. It wouldn't be a live lounge without a technical hitch. Gary, yeah, we're struggling here in Canada. Yeah, I was speaking to Jeff Smith the other day, and he said that as well. John, what happens to the card holders who are trying to move up the rankings if there isn't enough tournaments to earn them any money? TV tournaments are great, but not for the not 32. Yeah, look, I think last year the PDC did a great job of making sure there was still enough Pro Tours for it to matter, and I think they'll do the same this year as well. What about you, Gob?
Yeah, I think so. Look, the tour card holders are everything to the PDC. That's why QSchool has to take place, and ultimately, I think they did a great job looking after them last year. The home tour ensured that they were still playing darts regularly if they wanted it. The Pro Tours through the mini series, they worked really well and ensured that the players still had income. They had a hardship fund from the PDPA. They looked after their guys, and I just think that will happen again this year. It just becomes very difficult and will take something radical as an adjustment to the world rankings and the order of merit. And that's, I think, is a consideration that the PDC need to have or have had before this season goes ahead, is that if they're going to start pushing events back and back and back, money's dropping off players' rankings before they get an opportunity to defend it. And that can be a big issue for some of these players if they're not getting the opportunity to replenish that.
All right, Dan's back.
Serves him right for saying Barney was going to win a tour card. None of that nonsense on my show.
I got boot. I thought you might have pushed the button on me there and booted me after my outrageous suggestion.
The old ejector seat button. A lot of talk as well around the UK Open. I don't think we're out of line for saying this, but I don't see the UK Open happening in the dates it was meant to. Barry gives a lot away on social media by stuff he doesn't say, and listening to him replying to a lot of people asking questions, I think the UK Open's going to get moved. Do we agree?
Yeah.
I think so. Part of the draw of the UK Open is that I can turn up and go and compete against Gary Anderson. I can go and compete against Michael Van Gerwen if I come through an amateur qualifier. And I think that has to remain as part of the tournament, as part of the qualifying criteria. If we lose it once, I don't see us ever getting it back again. And it can't be the FA Cup of darts and all the other cliches that we chuck at that tournament without that aspect. And whilst there may be exemptions for professional sport, I'm not getting an exemption to pop down to Riley's Nottingham and play against one of the lads I went to uni with in the first round. That's not exemption level professional sport. So until they can be open successfully, that's going to be an issue. Or we could see a radical partnership or idea to host these qualifiers. But yeah, the minute, without that aspect being available, that would put a real hampener, one of those two, on the UK Open.
You in agreement, Dan?
Yeah, and I think Gob hit the nail on the head in that. That's the I think as someone who enjoys the aspect of it, but the FA Cup of Darts is a great thing. We can all go and play locally, and you never know. That somebody somewhere has the potential to play Gerwyn Price in a match, and I think if you remove that, if that isn't the case, then what's the point in the tournament? Where is that tournament different to 3-4 other things on the calendar we're going to try and squeeze in anyway? So I do think if you can't do it like that, and it's 2021, there's some clever things they can do. They can do some stuff online, but then the validity and the integrity of that people will relentlessly question. If you start to do qualifying online and things, there will be people that will sit and pick apart everybody's integrity and how that's been done. But I don't think there's any point in doing it unless you can completely open it that your man off the street can go down to Riley's and have a crack at it.
Yeah, no, completely agree. Just looking in the chat room, I feel a bit like Cilla Black here. Oh, Rach and where are we? Rach and John, a little bit of flirting going on in the chat room, liking this, guys. Behind door number one. No, keep the chat room buzzing, guys. It's absolutely brilliant to see you all there. I'd scrap the Players and the World Cup. The World Cup's never getting scrapped. World Cup's never getting scrapped. You saw if it was ever going to get scrapped, it would have been this year. No, but I'm just thinking. Look at the amount of trouble they went through to play the World Cup this year. If it was ever going to get done, they could have easily canned it like last year and didn't. So the World Cup never happening, unfortunately. And plus, God loves it.
Well, I mean, I'm biased because it's my favourite event, but the World Cup is not getting touched. And you can't cancel the Players because that's the concept of the Pro Tours. They're literally qualifying for the Players' Championship finals. It's a Pro Tour final, effectively, just played in front of TV cameras. So it's not happening. It's not getting cancelled. I like that we're trying to come up with different ideas and make space in the calendar, but they're not cancelling the Players' Championship anytime soon.
No, I completely agree. Rachel says Spring Series. Yeah, I think it's probably, whether they call it the Spring Series is another matter. But look, as soon as QSchool's done, I expect to see a block of however many quite soon after it. They'll probably call it the Spring Series in fairness, Rach. So, yeah, I'd go with that. Dan, we've covered the UK Open there. Luke, great point, Gob. Don't tell him that. Christ, we're never at the end of it. Do you think... or do you think they would do a QSchool type bubble for the UK Open? Just wouldn't work because, like Gobbs and that said there, we haven't got the amateur aspect of it, so I don't think so. Is the one on that? Do you reckon the UK Open prize money? Do you reckon they'll double the UK Open prize money by scrapping the Players' Championships? No, it will always be two completely different events because of the qualifying criteria for them both. Every tour card holder has qualified for the UK Open, but not every tour card holder qualifies for the Players' Championships. So two completely different events. Rachel flirting, crying, laughing face. You know, we all saw it. That's what the chat room's here for, folks. For people to get on. Always positivity on here. So any more questions about the 2021 calendar, what we think, what we might lose? We're obviously not going to gain anything. So last one from you boys. Anything else you think we'll lose, or do you think apart from the World Series, they'll find a way to get everything else in?
And the Champions League. I think the Champions League's done.
That went last year, didn't it? So that's
yeah. But I think that's buried. Too early to be making any dark jokes about burying. I think that's about it. Obviously, you said that we're getting a shorter European tour this year. I'd expect a still 20 Pro Tour season, whether that be in 4 blocks of 5 or spread out, a bit different. So yeah, that's it. That's about it. I think that's what we're going to lose. A little bit more compact Pro Tours, not as spaced out, or maybe in blocks of 3 or 4. Not even 5s. I think 5 for a full week's a bit long. If you can have a long weekend, there are still players trying to make their way in darts that have jobs and make a living, and booking blocks of 5 off isn't always going to be possible for the players.
Right, let's go through a quick comment. Gary, quick comment. Gob, Phill, Dan, you guys are brilliant. Cheers, mate. Glad you're enjoying the show. That's why we're here. It's
never said that with Jars here.
Yeah. We sit here and waffle for you guys to enjoy. One from Johnny.
Have you not like that smile from Dan? Look at that. He's got a buzzer in the background, a beer in his hand, and a grin like that. We've made his Monday look.
Who do you think will flourish this year? Oh, good question. Who do I think will flourish this year? There's 2 that I'm really looking forward to seeing play that have just won tour cards. One of them is a star already, which is Keane Barry. And the other one that I think will do a lot of damage on the tour is David Evans. Really looking forward to seeing them 2 start in their PDC Pro careers. Gob's busy Googling as we speak. Dartsranking.
Just scrolling. Just scrolling. Well, all right, I won't scroll, and I'll just pick the top boards. Flourish means different things to me and you. I think 2021 sees the return to absolute top level kick your ass form of Gary Anderson, and I genuinely believe he's going to have a big year. People should be very afraid of him declaring that he's coming for this year. And I think Devon Peterson's the other one. He had a great purple patch in the middle of last year. Injuries and so on have hampered him a little bit, but he's proved he's got the mentality to get over the line in a big one, and he's definitely shown he's got the game. He'll get the technical adjustments right, and then he'll start his assault on the world rankings again. He'll be in the top 16 by the end of the year.
I take that there's one before Dan jumps in. There's one that I really hope wins a tour card and commits to the tour is Matt Campbell.
Yes.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
I just saw so much ability in the World Cup, and then at the Worlds, I really hope that he comes over, smashes it, and does the tour. So yeah, he'd be another one that I'm really looking forward to potentially seeing play this year. Let's scroll through. Do you think we will have another?
Hang on.
Oh, sorry.
Hang on.
I've not done. I forgot about
his flourishes.
I haven't talked about Glenn yet.
It's only taken you an hour.
No, I mean,
5 minutes to talk about his man.
I'm gonna, and it's after 9 o'clock, so I can swear. No, I to be honest,
my girlfriend tuned in as well. She does her and is like, ooh.
I know I need to have a chat with her. We've got something in common. I think he's got a good year ahead. Like I think it's a real shame because obviously that he had an absolutely outrageous Premier League, and then the COVID thing came, and I just thought I banged on about it through the World Championships that he just looked like he was right on the up again at the end of last year. But I think one of the things we talked about earlier is the experience, consistency, being able to keep a relative level head is going to be important this year. And I think that he's Mr. Steady, isn't he? Mr. Steady where he's not. I don't think he's going to electrify. I just think he's going to keep consistently performing quite well. But I think, and now without banging on too much, I think Joe Cullen is my big shout for this year. And I think as a darts fan, I think we've seen, in the last week or so, Gerwyn Price on Soccer AM, there are people within darts at the minute on the up who can sort of cross that threshold into, making mainstream television appearances, who can bring a bit of a, something different. I think Joe Cullen has a bit of that. I think he's got the right type of persona, the right type of personality. And I'd love to see him have a really good year and really kick on because I think it's good for darts.
I agree. A couple of really good comments here. Andrew, blocks of 5 are better than 3 or 4 for those that have jobs. From that respect, however, some certain players that practice a lot before 5 days of practicing takes its toll. That's all I'm saying. Perhaps on day 4 and 5, the body's not equipped to take it, so we might see better performances. John, I like David Evans. Good evening to our friends over in America at the CDC. Thanks very much for joining us as always, guys. Appreciate your support. Chris Mason in the house. Good evening, Mace. This one's for you, Cobb. He's really looking forward to seeing Barney in the Premier League.
Ha, ha, ha. Almost as excited as everybody is to see Chris Mason's wardrobe at the UK Open.
Loving the banter. I really like the young German Kurt. So yeah, don't we all? Absolute top draw. We've got Luke. Devon's a good shout. Hitting loads of 180s. Second to none. The only problem is, Luke, he's not in the Masters. So hasn't got a chance to impress. Andrew, yeah, love to see Cullen have a good year. Yeah. So, right, now we're going to have a little bit of an impromptu debate. In the sports... Oh, sorry, yeah, we'll do this one from Callum first of all. And it was over there. Do we think there'll be another woman on the tour this year? Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I think
We know who Phill does.
the Queen.
Jeez,
The Queen does it.
This is going to be a bigger
Queen
love
wins her
inception than Dan's just done with does her.
I just think Fallon's top draw, and I think she wins her tour card.
I said this last week or the week before. I think Fallon was in a better position to win a tour card under the old QSchool system. I think having to go through stage 1 and 2 makes it a little bit more difficult. You need an even longer period of consistency at that top level. She's got the game completely, but yeah, it's a tougher assignment this year than it would have been last year.
Dan,
I think if we get a female tour card winner out of QSchool, it's not Fallon. I just an outsider. I think Suzuki might just put something together. I think it makes it. I saw something today. I've not seen anything in black and white, but I saw some rumblings on social media today that she was going to be there and playing in the UK QSchool. I've not seen anything confirmed, but I've seen comments and people sort of saying that was the case. And I think if she does, I think she does all right. You know, I think the standards she's capable of playing. Again, you know, we've not seen a great deal of her of late because of everything that's gone on this year. We don't know how she's going to turn up. But I think if she's there, I think if there's a female that comes out of it, I think it's Suzuki rather than Fallon.
Interesting. Right, let's go through some questions here before we move on. One name each. Who is the most likely to be fined the most in 2020 by the DRA? Oh, Rach, you're killing us. Who do I think
the
will
two
get fined?
go-tos aren't currently tour card holders? The go-to is, without doubt, every single time, Roby John Rodriguez. His name is constantly on that list, but he isn't a tour card holder yet. Raymond is in for a big year, I think, in terms of the DRA coffers. And do you know what? Gary, and I just don't think he cares anymore.
Yeah, get Gary for rogue interviews.
Yes, or Vincent. Vincent is always a good crack to be on there.
Vincent's always a good shout for a comment. Yeah. One from you, Dan?
Vincent, all the way.
Good old Vincent. Bulldoze the lot.
And I look forward to it. I hope he does.
I hope they put a major in Barnsley just for 1 year. Could you imagine the look on his face?
Televised rankings tournament, Philip. Not a major.
Mace has just trumped us both. Wade, he's in for a DRA final as always.
At some point.
Always, he'll say something stupid. Great shout. Love that, Chris. Right, let's go through. Fallon's definitely good. Jonathan, is Kyle Anderson coming back, lads? Yes. I believe so. Rob, I know you have.
I spoke to him in the week.
I spoke to him about 3 weeks ago, maybe 4, and yes, he is coming back. And I'm guessing that's still the same goal.
Yeah, I spoke to him in the week with a couple of suggestions for accommodation when he returns. My house isn't quite big enough to put him up, but there's a couple of options on the table. Obviously, he is still health orientated first. COVID needs to clear off as best as possible for him to be able to make his return, especially as someone who has had health problems like he has and will be adding a second child to the family early this year. But yes, his intention is still to return to play on the tour. He is really enjoying his new darts. He's changed manufacturer last year to Shot. They look really nice as well. His new playing shirt is available recently as well. They're not the moves of a man who's not coming back. They're the moves of a man who's preparing and making sure he comes back in the right climate. I think he's just as frustrated as a lot of his fans that he hasn't been able to play and participate in the last year or so that he would have liked to, especially with his visa issues previously and previous health issues. He's not had the most fortunate of runs as a professional dart player, but his talent is there for everyone to see. And once he gets back on the tour, I'm sure he'll be looking to kick on.
Definitely. Another one here in the chat room. Is Martin Adams going to QSchool? I don't know, but I would be very, very surprised. I think, look, the man is, I don't want to do him a disservice here. I think he's 65 and he's still an absolute genius. But he loves what he's doing. Will be one, or is one of the all-time greats of the sport. I think that ship sailed. I think if he'd wanted to have done it, I think he'd have done it a few years ago. But part of me would love to see Martin Adams go to QSchool, win a tour card, and just give it one last swan song. How good would that be?
64, Philip. 65 in the summer, so he's going to have you for the next home tour. But yeah, look, he's a great talent. He's a very, very consistently high-level dart player, especially when he gets time on the board. He was a great champion. He was a great ambassador for the sport. He's overcome health difficulties. And he's a genuinely nice bloke as well. I did an exhibition with him up in Lancaster a couple of years back. Good entertainer, good with the crowd, gave everybody time to have a conversation. He'd be a great addition to the tour. But unfortunately, I do think 64 is not the age to start travelling halfway around the world and jetting off to play darts every weekend.
No. One from, where are we? Nathan here. Which of the established players could you see losing their tour card? Good question. We know where we're going here. Wait a minute.
Darts rankings.
Darts rankings.
If anyone doesn't know, literally,
because Go on, Phil.
Darts Ranking is the best site in the world when it comes to looking at rankings. It is genuinely amazing.
It's so basic, but what they do is just so good. It's so clean. It's so easy to comprehend.
Yeah.
Back to the question, those in trouble. Darren Webster didn't have a great year last year. He needs to overcome that injury quickly, or he could be one that I could potentially see dropping a little bit further. Jelle Klassen is falling. I wouldn't say he's declining. He went through a tinkering phase. I think he needs to find some form quickly, or he'll be under pressure to keep his card a lot. And then Kyle and Christo, obviously, two established players that have missed a lot of the season due to COVID and stayed at home. So they're on the borderline, not for any fault of their own, but could be potentially needing a trip to QSchool next year unless they get opportunities and take those opportunities this year.
James Wilson, another one. Former Grand Prix quarterfinalist or semi-finalist. I know you went deep at the Grand Prix a few years ago because I was in tears about Matt Ward's videos about having to stay at the City West. I think he's got a big year. Ted Everts has got a big year in front of him as well. Right on the cusp, only $3.5 grand off losing his tour card.
Didn't Matthew Edgar stay in?
I think his run at the Worlds, winning that game, may just give him a buffer. May.
I think he'd be cuspy, isn't he? Mickey Mansell as well, I think's in a precarious position as well. And Rasma.
Have we missed anyone out? Yeah.
Rasma's first year, isn't he?
Is he?
No, not according to.
Second, yeah.
I thought he was second year, but he's defending quite a bit. He's
So yeah, they're the ones for me. We missed anyone, guys?
38%. No, I think that's it. I think they're the ones that are on the borderline from the rankings at the minute. I don't see anybody else from further up falling too far. The disparity in prize money, I don't think anybody's defending excess amount that they won't pick up a few quid. That means that they stick in as the 64. So, yeah, I think that's the list. We've lost Dan again, so let's keep going.
That's all right.
We'll
just carry on. Gary, do you think the ship has sailed on the Wizard yet? I say no on this because every time we say the ship sailed, he finds a way to reinvent himself. So no, I don't think so. Gob, you?
I've spent 3 years questioning how he sticks around in the top 16 and then watched him take Michael van Gogh into the cleaners 3 times in 3 different formats, in 3 different ways as well, 3 different levels of performance. There was one where it was just sheer consistent, one where his finishing was unbelievable, and one where his 180 was unbelievable. Do I think Whitlock's going to win a world title? No. Do I think he's in contention to stay in the top 16 for another couple of years, cause upsets, make quarterfinals, make semi-finals, and potentially go on a run if another major opens up? Yeah, he's shown that over the last year that he's still got the game and he's still got the belief to do that. I think with Damon coming over, with Kyle returning to the tour, the entrance of Corey Cadby a couple of years ago that we're still waiting for him to make a return to. Simon will want to be Aussie #1 for as long as he can. That's a big legacy to have and to keep, and he'll want to cling on to that for as long as possible. So these guys coming over aiming to take that crown as well as push on as an Australian World Cup team and all that will keep him committed to the tour.
Yeah, no, 100%. Just going through, how would you change the Grand Slam as there is no BDO anymore, as it was made for both PDC and BDO? Would you change the name of it? No, for me, the Grand Slam's the Grand Slam. You can't change the name, but I think that it still needs to have some different element, whether it's WDF, whether it's MAD, whether it's 4 women and 4 MAD or 4 women and 4 WDF. The Grand Slam didn't feel like the Grand Slam this year because there was only Suzuki and Wayne that made it different. Just my opinion. I don't know what you guys think. Yeah. And in the chat room, let us know as well. The Grand Slam needs to keep its identity somehow.
Yeah, I agree. I don't get me wrong. I think the knockout phase is very similar to the match play. It's just quite long, and I don't see the need for it to be that long. Don't get me wrong, it makes for some really good games. The quarterfinals this year was a superb day, but I think we could have seen that drama in races to 10 still, perhaps. In terms of filling the field, I think that the governing bodies, the new emerging ones, the new powers in darts, if you like, be it MAD, be it the WDF, be it UKDA through the county ranking system, the thing they've all known since their inception is that the PDC are the daddies. They are the professional body for professional darts, okay? It might not be acknowledged by Sport England as a governing body for blanket darts and grassroots darts across the country, but they are the daddies when it comes to professional. And I think the fact that these 3 organisations have known that, kept that in mind, been in constant communication with the PDC and with each other to try and make sure they're not stepping on each other's toes, they're doing the right things. The overlap is there a little bit, but there's pathways between each. There's opportunities for them to provide the field that I don't think the communication was there in the past, perhaps from the BDO, but because of the size and stature of the history, that was there. So there's options and avenues for the PDC to even cut their numbers down again and really bring in some more of these other organising bodies.
Yeah, 100%. Welcome back, Dan. Thanks for joining us in the chat room. It's got welcome back from Gary.
He missed you.
Mason says it will have to be WDF players in it. Maybe not this year, as no WDF events prior to the Slam. Yeah, I agree. This is the issue for the amateur bodies until they're allowed to host events again. There's been no darts for them, which has been a big issue. Can we go off the Torremolinos rankings?
Everybody loves the Torremolinos Open.
One from Daz here. Is Ted Hankey going to QSchool? I'd be surprised. Last time I heard, he wasn't in the best of health. So, yeah, I don't think so, is the honest answer to that. The one here that we've forgotten, we've commented on this before. Andrew thinks Steve Beaton's in danger next year. Yeah, I agree.
Yes.
Didn't look anywhere near. Look, Steve's at that age where he just turns up and plays. He doesn't practice for 3-4 hours a day like the rest of them. He's earned that right to. But yeah, I agree. He is in danger, yes. Edward, we answered this earlier. Does Barney get his tour card? Me and Dan think yes. Gob thinks no. Will Jim Williams get his tour card?
Whoa. That's not true. And it hasn't been true for a number of weeks. I think he does get his card. I don't want him to. I don't want him to. There's a difference. I don't think after the way that he left the sport and the big fanfare and hurrah, I understand why he's coming back, and he's been deprived of his years in retirement to do exhibitions and still have that steady stream of income. And I think that's part of the reason why he's going to attempt this coming back. But I just don't think it's right for his fans and all that sort of thing. So I don't want him to come back because he's going to draw a lot of media attention for somebody that has been there, has done it. Yes, his switch over changed the game and the balance of professional darts and all that, but he underachieved as a PDC dart player. Don't at me, he did. One world title, don't get me wrong, in the fashion he did was superb, but the man should have won a lot more. Took the piss in his final year, quite frankly, kept promising the world to everybody and didn't deliver. Got his big send-off, got his final Premier League, disappeared and has now decided he wants to come back after 18 months. I don't want him to for that reason, but I think he will pick up a card.
Fair one. Where are we? Jamie, will Jim Williams get a tour card? We spoke about it earlier. We hope so. Definitely has the ability to. So fingers crossed. Jamie again, could use the current mad bout holders for the Grand Slam. I don't dislike the idea. Don't dislike it at all.
Only if they all like barge through with big entrance music and nobody knows which one of them is going to play in each group. We need some surprise entrance walk-ons at darts, I'm telling you.
And if Gerwyn Price beats them, I want one of them to pick up a chair, stun her off the edge of the stage. Are we going too far now?
I can't really comment on Price because it would just look like I've got an agenda, so...
Is AD Lewis in fear of dropping out the top 32 by the end of the year? On current form, yes, because he's defending money and his form isn't great. However, AD is top class and has the ability to turn that around. So, do I personally think he'll have another bad year? No, I think he'll pick up some good results. What do you guys feel?
He's defended 148 grand, 71% of his ranking.
I think as far as, on the old darts rankings, like plus minus number, I think at the end of the year, I think there'll only be Rob Cross that's got a bigger minus in places than AD Lewis.
Oh.
Dan's just like him, pick the short ball up and absolutely towed it over Cal corner.
Well, I
Oh,
think,
God,
I think it's that percentage. So off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure it's right. I'm sure that Rob Cross is defending 85% of his money
81.4.
this year. 81. I wasn't
81.4 for
far
him.
off.
Steve Beaton, who we mentioned earlier, 77, and Lewis is 71.
See, but I think he's doing it. I think just at where the level that Rob Cross is defending that 81%. So I'm not being funny, but the higher you go at the top, the bigger those percentages are in big lumps of money. And so Rob Cross, if he doesn't make a semi-final this year, like in ranking places, that's like AD Lewis can probably do 1 or 2 semi-finals this year. Like, if he can do 1 semi-final, he won't drop very far at all if he makes 1 semi-final. Right? If Rob Cross doesn't hit a semi-final this year, he's going to lose absolutely vast positions in the rankings. I just think 81%. I think AD Lewis is at risk of a big fall down the table. But I think looking at Rob Cross in number 4, it's just such a high percentage to be defending when the guy isn't really playing at his best. He's playing all right, but I just think it's such a huge number to defend.
The other flip to that, Gary Anderson's only defending 22% this year.
Price is only defending mid-30s as well. Asp is similar. I know Asp is 70%. There was another one I just saw. Dimitri's got a great chance. He's only defending 33%, 121.
Yeah.
Jose De Souza as well, 20% he's defending, 63 grand. That's a nice platform this year to really go and attack and launch yourself up as well. So, look, Lewis is in trouble, but he's one of them where at some point this natural ability is going to shine through again. I still keep the faith that he will do something special. Yeah. And we said a lot at the start of the year about how much Gary Anderson was in trouble with the injuries, the lack of form, the lack of playing. He defended all of it, kept where he was, and is now set up for another 18 months to go absolutely berserk. So if Lewis can somehow get away with it this year, defend the majority, maybe even defend it all and pick up a bit more with 1 or 2 really, really good deep runs, could be seeing him in the Premier League next year. That would just be the Lewis that we know, wouldn't it? It would be so Eddie Lewis to spring back like that, just as likely to drop off as he is to be a top 8.
Yeah. And I've still got no idea how Gary Anderson defended that money this year. To this day, I still no idea. Bad knee, bad everything.
The match play final, the world final will do that for you, but I'm still not sure how he made either.
No, that's what I mean. Look, we saw him play those games, but to this day, I've still got no idea how he did it. None whatsoever. But that is Gary Anderson. And that brings us on to a nice cross into what we're going to do. I've done a few questions. We'll come back to your questions in a minute. But one of the things that it came about, I was listening to a football podcast, and it made me think about darts a little bit. It's icon versus legend. Everyone, now bear with me. Legend is a massively overused word in not just darts, but any sport. Now, how do you differentiate between a legend of the sport and an icon, someone that had a good 2 or 3 years and was an icon in that period of time, but not necessarily enough to go into a legend status? And I'm going to put this one out there. People in the chat room might not like this, but I'm going to use Steve Beaton as an example. Is he a legend or is he an icon? And I say that because he won the World Championship in 94, 93, 94, somewhere around there, but never won a PDC TV title. So is he an icon of that era or is he a legend of the game? Let us know in the chat room as well what you're thinking. Are we looking at this too much? And what's the difference? And how do you cross between the two? I'm going to throw it open to you guys first of all. Dan, what do you think?
I think it's hard. I think it's one of those things. It's really difficult to talk. So everything we've discussed so far, do you know what we can really easily do? We can like quickly have a quick Google, and we can like look on, like we can look at numbers, we can look at like current positions, previous positions, you know, and we could. Whereas this, it's like it's so open. You're always going to get loads of debate because it's a bit of what you like. You know, there'll be something there'll be somebody that thinks that, you know, somebody that it takes Phill Taylor, you know, and to that is a legend. So if you say Phill Taylor's a legend, and you say, right, Phill Taylor is a legend of darts, who are the other legends? You say, well, we're going to measure them against him. Oh, there isn't any then. Like, because there isn't any, because so who, if you want to put in number, you know, where's
the ejector seat button?
Yes. That was the debate we were going to have this week, and he's pushed it back till Jar's here to defend him. Yes, we'll go in on that. Phill Taylor is the number
Where's
one.
the ejector seat
done.
button?
You can come again. Get him.
So, see, I don't necessarily, you haven't let me finish. I don't necessarily think that's the case. What I think is, it depends on how you interpret it. It's what you, so you could just say, well, you know, on that alone, well, who do you put next to him? But then you're in the question as to, well, what does it make? You know, what's legendary? You know, Steve Beaton, like we just spoke about Steve Beaton within the last 3 or 4 minutes, saying we think there's a decent chance he's going to plummet down. Like what Steve Beaton done, something like 30 years within the top. Is it 30 years in the top 32 or something outrageous like that? Is that something that then is legendary? It depends where your line is and what you classify, and we'll all do it differently because of what we like. I think it's dead subjective, and we'll argue about it forever.
No, 100%. That's why I like it. That's why we brought it all up, because I just think that in any sport, legend is overused, far too overused. I can see Gob writing down a list right now.
You can.
So, where's your line then?
And everybody else is therefore an icon, and that's an issue.
Where's your line then, Gob?
I don't know, because I thought I had it, and then I've genuinely just seen a comment that's completely thrown it. Beaton is an icon, Paul Lim is a legend. Well, to me, he's bang on, but I can't tell you why. Because Beaton's done more. Apart from Beaton's won more. It doesn't make sense. It's completely thrown me. My list is gone. I've given up.
We've absolutely started something here, haven't we? The icons versus legend debate has really opened one here.
Yeah.
I knew
Here's another level to it, right? So just on and off side. So looking as a memory prompt for things I wanted to offer, I looked at the Hall of Fame. Is the Hall of Fame for legends or for icons? Or both?
Both.
It's got to be for both, because I know some of the names in there, and they're certainly not legends.
Both. Interesting one from Jamie here. One world championship winners cannot be considered as legends or icons. Yeah. You can be an icon in that time. I disagree with that one.
People have never defended the world championship, Philip. Where do you stand on those?
Still legendary.
Oh, scared. You know what I'm getting at.
I'll tell you what, this has got the chat room buzzing again as well. Oh, I'll tell you what, Martin's pulled one out of the hat here, and this is a good one to base it on. Colin Lloyd, legend or icon?
Icon.
Icon for me.
Icon.
Yeah.
See, this is what
where
would
you classify someone?
Some names off, and we'll tell you if they're a legend or an icon.
It's just I want to see where your list is.
One sec. See, some of these are proper borderline.
Yeah.
The definitive list of legends is Phill Taylor and Eric Bristow. everybody else is subjective, and I'm debating whether or not they should be in one or the other. My list is longer than that as written legends, but they're the only two that do not move. You can make a case for everyone else being in the opposite by comparison to other people from the era or the modern era. So other people I had written down as a legend is Jockey Wilson. Absolute legend of the game. Did he win enough?
Yeah, no, this is why I like it. This is why we brought it up. I like it. This
Dennis
is why
Priestley.
I
don't think Priestley gets anywhere near the amount of recognition the man deserves. I think he was unbelievable. Begrudgingly, I think Barney has or was elevated to a legend status. And that is off the basis of the one world title, the PDC world title, or the 5 world titles.
So,
like. But his PDC
But
go on.
But Gob, if you say that about Barney, then you're gonna have to put Rob Cross in as well, aren't you?
As a one-time PDC world champion. Well,
yeah.
At the same
if that's
point,
your
I
line,
have to pick Adrian Lewis and Gary Anderson. I don't think you could be a legend until your career's over, right? I don't think you could be in this debate if you're a current player. You're not a legend until you're done. Because you can still balls this up. You can still do something terribly wrong. You can do an O.J. Simpson tomorrow. You're not a legend. You're in prison.
I like that idea. I like that once you're retired,
yeah.
Is a legend simply a retired icon? Is that all a legend is? Just a retired icon?
No, I'd still think. I think icons of the sport.
Barney's no longer a legend because he's coming back. Yes.
Yeah, but at the moment, he's still technically until QSchool, he's still technically retired.
Yeah, and that would also mean that if he fails QSchool, he remains a legend.
Told you he's getting his card. This is a nightmare. What horrid. I also had Bob Anderson.
Yeah.
As a legend. And Martin Adams.
Martin Adams, I'm 100% with you on that. 100%.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a few that are
Andy Fordham's an icon for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. Ted Hankey.
Icon.
Doesn't get the recognition he deserves at all. But again, I just don't think he had... I mean, he's from an era slightly before or coming towards the end of his career at the point where I've really got into the game, but I don't think he carried enough about himself to be a legend. He'd be an icon for me.
No, that's fair. Keith Deller?
Icon.
No, I agree.
Look, Keith Deller's career can be summed up in 3 words. 1, 3, 8. That's it. Thanks, Keith.
Well, it is a couple that I like. Terry Jenkins, icon for me.
Yeah. I mean, he's a bit of a legend to me. I love the man. The fact he just disappeared without any fuss as well, I love about Terry. Like, yeah, I'm off. Didn't make a big deal about it. Shaved all his head because he had issues with that and just got on with it. Didn't care, didn't make a fanfare, got on with it. I'm going to name drop him, the likes of Co Stompe.
Here's one that will split opinion, and it's where you think. Bobby George.
Legend.
Legend. I say legend because of the news of the world. To win that,
I think he's got to be a legend. Yeah.
And to win it without dropping a leg.
As it does, it's because of Bobby.
Yeah. John Lowe.
Do you think
100%?
Do you think that there's something about people who cross into the mainstream? You know, like people who like so darts players that my mum will have heard of. That she might know the names of like 4 darts players. And like, do you just think they're just people that sort of blend into popular culture as famous people get that legendary, or is it just on darts prestige alone rather than their effect on the world?
No, I think this is purely a sport. Are you a legend of the sport or an icon of the sport? Trina Gulliver,
10 times world
legend.
champion.
Legend. Has to be for longevity.
Mm-hmm.
Mace brings a good point up here. Longevity has a lot of bearing on both. I agree. The status is subjective. Yeah, 100%. It's good. I like these debates.
John Part's another one. And
is he coming through QSchool?
I think
he said at the World he was going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he said at the World he was going to do it.
But does that devalue his career, or does that devalue his status? Because it wouldn't be the first time that he's been at QSchool or attempted to go back and play at that level.
I just think he loves playing still. I just think he's whilst I can still play, I'm going to do it.
Here's a quick question.
Yeah,
if you win the BDO World Championship 3 years on the bounce, are you a legend?
It's one of only 2 people to have done it. 2, 3.
You don't know which one I'm talking about. 2.
No, I do.
The one sat behind you on the wall. 100% the one behind you on the wall. But again, he hasn't retired yet, and we're saving this debate for retired people. I've just seen Lisa Ashton's name pop up as well. I think she'll get a lot more credit when she retires for what she did for the ladies' game. I agree. And also what she's doing in the men's game as well. I'm looking at players like Tony O'Shea. Is he an icon or is he a legend? Because he's been around for so long, went to so many the lengths of it. But is it just your playing, or is it your personality that makes you an icon or a legend as well? Because one of the players that I'm going to bring up now would be considered a legend, but didn't actually win, is Phill Nixon.
Yeah.
But is he a legend because of the tragic circumstances that surrounded his life and him not winning that world final? Or is he a legend based on ability and all that sort of thing?
Yeah. To be fair, Mace is on fire in the chat room today. Loving this, buddy. I put these into 3 categories: legend, icon, and great players.
Go on.
Right. When we do the debate, we're going to add in this as well, and we're going to put lists together for these. So
can we have some notice before we do this next week, so I can do some proper research, please?
Yeah, it won't be next week because it's the Masters preview next week. So
I've got 4 pages of notes on why Phill Taylor is better than Michael Van Gerwen, and you've moved it away for 4 weeks again because Jar's got some plasterers in his new house.
He's not. He's playing with Thomas the Tank. Remember, right, everyone. We're getting to that point of the show. Get any more questions into the chat room. We're going to have another 5 minutes or so. Any questions you want, get them in. Chris Mason shirts, legendary. No question about that. They go straight into legendary bracket.
Harrington's waistcoats.
In the bin. Yeah.
Bobby George's shirt. Get your tits out, Bobby.
Legend. So, yeah.
Painter, icon, maybe one player's champs. Price could become a legend. Yeah. Would be the first to swap between sports, really.
To be fair, though, I agree. I like the status. You can't be putting legend or icon until you retire.
Yeah.
I like that.
Plenty of time to mess up yet, guys. I think Gary will be there. He's one of the most natural talents we've ever seen, but he's not a legend yet. His career ain't done yet.
If he carries on moaning, it might. Luke's in. Wright's Grinch costume in the bin.
Ooh. Mr. Christmas himself is binning off the Christmas outfit. Surprised your decorations aren't still up, Philip. We had to remind you to take the Christmas decoration off of our logo, for Christ's sake.
Wait a minute. You can see. Oh, let me grab me light. The paint swabs are on the wall. I'm decorating.
Right.
See, this is what lockdown's done. It's sending me nuts. It's just like, yeah, I better decorate. So right. Let's go back through. Good point, Mace. I like that. Oh, best start shirts, classic and modern. Oh, good question. Oh. Who do I really like? As far as classic goes, I still really like the Eric Bristow shirt, just the red with the Crafty Cotley logo on the back.
Can't hear anything.
Have you gone again, Gob? 2 seconds.
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you, mate. Can you still hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, just about. There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, no, Dan's gone. This is going swimmingly.
Yeah, well, you know, it's the modern age of technical advances. Yeah, classic dart shirts. I really like the Bristow one, just the red with the Crafty Cotley logo on the back.
Yeah, I've got a friend who collects Bristow memorabilia, and it's mad. He's obsessed, but it's just very classic. It's just
iconic, that shirt and logo. In terms of modern shirts,
Gary's is quite simple. Stands out.
Yeah.
Without being over. Sedlacek.
Yeah.
Do you know, I quite like the simplicity and sort of business-like nature of James Wade.
Mm-hmm.
Just, you know, simple. Yeah.
All the way anymore. A lot of players have
like that.
Lightweight, zip up or button at the chest, polo, but him and Gary still full length, button up, and I love it.
Yeah, sure. And I like the idea of it. Yeah. Nico as well. Nico in a tie. It's good.
See, I like Peter Manley's pink flamingos and stuff like that. I'm more of a so yeah, let's go through final questions. Here we are. Style beats again. Who in your opinion is the best PDC player never to have won a major?
Jenkins.
I've got two.
Or
Jenkins and Michael Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Michael Smith.
Yeah. Terry Jenkins and Michael Smith for us.
I think Chizzy might sneak into the conversation.
Not with that snatch. Dan, you've got more chance of seeing Phill Taylor at the end of a rainbow with a pot of gold with a leprechaun than you have seeing him at QSchool, mate. Absolutely no chance whatsoever. So last few then, any more questions that we've missed again, guys? Have a look through the chat room to see if you can see any.
Will James Wade end up a legend? I think he needs a world title for me. And I think if he doesn't win one, an extension of the question we just answered on best players to have never won a major, he'd certainly be up there on best players to have never won a world title. I already think he's in contention for one of the best left-handed players of all time because of his win record elsewhere. But we've said it multiple times, and it's going to be the pin to my Taylor MVG debate. So I've got to say it now. World titles define your career, right? That's what sets you apart, and he needs one.
Mason's put another 2 on there. He's got Smith and Jenkins like us. Baxter and King, good shouts.
Yeah. Merv needs one.
Yeah, completely agree,
Merv's still playing good enough darts to win one as well, whereas we've seen a couple of other players drop off. But I genuinely think Merv could get over the line at the minute. I think if he got over the line at the Masters in that James Wade game, the players. No, it was Masters, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was about the players this year when he lost to MVG as well.
Yeah, I'd love to this year, but that Masters game was the one for Merv. I think that might be the one that gets away. Jason Lowe, the most basic shirt he can get. Yeah, doesn't even have his name on it. Just did deal with dance gear for you. They're fantastic. Anderson's old shirt was elite. That year that he signed a deal with Creepy Clothing or whatever they were called. That was
Foul Fashion.
Foul Fashion.
Fashion.
The one. Wayne Mardle shirt. That was a classic. To be fair, just seeing his name appear.
All I'm saying is, knowing Gary like I do, and how he likes the most simplistic shirts, that sponsorship deal must have been worth an absolute small fortune to get him to wear those shirts.
The photo shoot is so uncomfortable. It's hilarious how uncomfortable it is. It's constant bemusement of why am I here? And then he just must have dollar signs in his eyes and contact lenses or something. Because it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah. To get him to wear them, I'd hate to have seen what they've written on that check. Because it would have been absolutely obscene. Right, I think that is all the questions done. So we are going to wrap up tonight's Live Lounge. Everyone, it has been absolute pleasure to have you on the Live Lounge again on a Monday. Like I say, Monday's our slot. We will only change it when we absolutely have to. Next week, we will have the Masters preview. We've got some good interviews coming up on Online Darts as well. Got one with Mace going to happen this week as well, so stay tuned for that. It is always a pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us. You spent nearly 2 hours of your evening with us, and we massively appreciate it. Thank you very much. Dan, debut on the Live Lounge. Thank you very much, mate. Hope you enjoyed it. Gob, always a pleasure, mate. Back next week. I've been Phill Bars. Everyone, thank you very much, and we will see you on the Live Lounge next week.